Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about the New York case, which you may recall was supposed to today have a decision from Justice Juan Merchan about Trump's immunity claim and then proceed to sentencing. None of that's happening for at least a week. So Trump reaches out, his lawyer, Emil Bove, who was one of the lawyers in the New York criminal case, and says, there's some really unprecedented circumstances here. He's now the president-elect. We want to be able to raise certain arguments that you just can't go forward now with sentencing, even though he's still a citizen. And Alvin Bragg's office said, we agree. So Merchan was due to a self-imposed deadline on the motion for new trial by Trump based on the immunity decision. This wasn't to dismiss the whole thing, that is separate, but rather to say the jury heard some evidence involving Hope Hicks. That was a conversation that took place in March of 2017 when Trump already was in office. Arguably, or they argue, that was immune under the Supreme Court's less than fully clear rubric in the immunity decision. And therefore, the jury's having heard that pollutes everything with their decision, and there should be a grant of a new trial. The DA had many arguments, but the strongest one, the one I anticipated Justice Merchan would adopt, was in criminal cases when evidence is admitted mistakenly, but the rest of the evidence is still clearly enough to carry the day to conviction, then the evidence that's should not have been admitted is considered harmless error. It has to be beyond a reasonable doubt that it wouldn't have affected the jury's verdict, but that's something that judges do all the time. So that was what he was going to decide today. That's off now. He's agreed, has Merchan, to just wait and have them come in on the 19th. So instead, what's going to happen is a status hearing on the 19th or some kind of proceeding where Trump is going to be trying to say, everything should now go away. Now, why, you might ask? And it really isn't clear. This is state prosecution. Trump can't pardon himself. It's already occurred. It involved pre-presidential conduct. And it isn't going to be something that would monopolize his time. If he's sentenced on the 26th to prison or not, it will just, I think, but this is one of the things they want to raise to Merchan, be put on ice during the time he's president, but it would potentially mean that he would have a date with Rikers Island on January 20th, 2029, or whenever his term ends. So that might have been the assumption of how things were going to go with Merchan. He would just completely follow through, do his job, sort of the way Judge Chutkan has been doing hers in D.C., and then let the cards fall where they may after he becomes president, moves for the New York case to be suspended during his presidency, etc. Instead, what we're going to see are these more far-reaching and undecided questions of federal law involving the ability of a state to assert jurisdiction over a sitting president. I think you'll see an argument broader and more far-reaching than just, while someone's president, you have to put things aside. It'll be something like his ability to be a strong, nimble president of the kind that the Supreme Court has identified in the immunity decision would be compromised if the Empire State over there has this sort of leverage over him, or this hammer poised above him of a criminal penalty that's going to be served after he leaves. I mean, these are, and this is the first thing that Jack Smith said, and now the first thing that Alvin Bragg's office said, unprecedented circumstances, and everybody is aware that they ultimately could be decided by the U.S. Supreme Court, which will give to itself the final word. I think even in the state prosecution for saying to what extent the federal Constitution incapacitates states either temporarily or permanently from going after an elected sitting president. And so Trump's, as of now, he's had an incredible run of luck and circumstances and has dodged bullet after bullet. And the one remaining really is New York, where he's been convicted 34 times. And it is, I think, his chief focus now to somehow make that one dry up and go away. But it would involve certain legal principles that aren't right now part of the law. Of course, we've never had a president felon before. And of course, a president felon with a sympathetic Supreme Court. The whole thing is just such a tangled mess of law and politics. Bottom line, in New York, though, and for New York, is what we might have expected would have been Mayor Chan's posture of, I'm going ahead. I'm going to rule on this motion as I said I would. I'm going to sentence him on the 26th. Then he can try to say that constitutional principles mean that I have to be overridden in some way, but my job is my job. We could have expected that. There was already an indication when he pushed back the sentencing to after the election that he was attuned to and somewhat anxious about the whole political setting. Now that Trump has won this decisive victory, that posture could lead him in any of many directions away from simply the follow through that the law would otherwise provide. So come a week from today, the 19th, you're going to see some newfangled and far-reaching arguments from Trump, saying the whole thing should be not just put on ice, but completely removed, completely eliminated. And of course, those arguments he will be able to pursue, and depending on what Mayor Chan says, will pursue at the appellate division of the New York courts and the highest level, the Court of Appeals in New York, and then potentially the U.S. Supreme Court. So this could be a while in being decided. And the one sort of clear principle, even though no court has yet pronounced it, but you may see Mayor Chan doing it next week, is that Donald Trump's not going to be in jail while he's president or while he's president-elect on these New York charges. But what happens to them? Do they just sort of blow away with the political winds, or do they remain for future reckoning? Is really what's going to be up for grabs starting next week with a hearing in Mayor Chan's courtroom. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.